Hello everyone and welcome to Hairenik Media. Today we are pleased to be joined by Mr. Aram Orbelyan, attorney and managing partner at Concert Dialog law firm. Mr. Orbelyan, thank you for joining us today.
Good evening, thank you for the invitation.
Mr. Orbelyan, do you find it concerning that Armenia's judicial system appears to be influenced by the government? How justified do you consider the recent arrests, and can those that are on trial, especially members of the clergy, be considered political prisoners?
Thank you for a very interesting question. Before going further and explaining what's happening with judiciary and whether different people being on trial or being detained or being arrested would be considered political prisoners or prisoners of conscience, we need just to understand what political prisoner is. Why I'm addressing this issue, because usually when I discuss this issue with people, they would say, okay, the person is not a politician, so if he's under arrest or is being detained, he cannot be treated as political prisoner as such. That's why I also use the word prisoner of conscience. So that's reason, that's the word being used to show that the person being detained, arrested, prosecuted for what the person believes or for what the person does, provided there is no violence. I will come to violence element furthermore. So the definition is also given in many different international documents. The most prominent one or the most used one, especially in Armenia, are those provided by Parliamentary Assembly of Council of Europe. However, if someone tries to look into Amnesty International definition or Human Rights Watch definition or other international organization definition, that would be more or less around. Now, at the moment, it's difficult to say how many political prisoners do we have, but it's different human rights organizations in Armenia would be numbering like 40, 50, 30 or around those numbers. Why the number changes? Because daily someone is being arrested, someone is being investigated, someone being kept in custody, and that's why the number is not stable and is changing from time to time. Now, what's happening with judiciary? When Armenia gained independence in 1991, we inherited Soviet-type judicial system when the prosecutor or the investigator or even the policeman or militioner was the one who was kind of doing all the criminal investigation, and the judiciary was very far of being independent. Armenia has undergone quite extensive, intensive judicial reforms. We had 2 constitutional changes in between. We had numerous international assistance programs to improve judiciary. We have improved judiciary technically. We have improved judiciary content-wise. Constant trainings from human rights took place. Sometimes people would recall one of the first cases in European Court of Human Rights when kind of in a court case, the torture or inhuman treatments was considered to be okay. It's not directly what is there, but kind of that's an issue. And but we had gone a huge development there. Up to 16, 17, the judiciary, especially when we are speaking about criminal cases, especially when we are speaking criminal at appeals court, it became more and more independent. Now, after 18, in 19, judiciary was kind of continuing to be independent, but we saw that starting from 2020, the government starts to crush the judiciary. By crushing the judiciary or trying to diminish the independence of judiciary, I mean specific instances when the interference was proven. Because before that, quite many of the professionals had a belief, or we had grounds to believe that the interference is taking place. However, after 18, we have at least 2 specific cases of interference, which was recorded, and the authenticity of those records were not challenged. Moreover, they were confirmed to be authentic. The first one is when we are speaking about arrest of Robert Kocharian and this discussion between Prime Minister, Head of Special Investigative Council and Head of National Security Service, when they discuss that the judge said there is no case. Then there was this famous words, that you want or you don't, you need to give an arrest. All these discussions were recorded. It was somehow, let's say, put together and then was published. So the authenticity of the discussion was confirmed. However, the participants said that it was not specifically what they spoke, because they spoke longer. However, no one explained what exactly did they mean when they were telling that you want or you don't, you need to give an arrest. The second case was when there was a leakage from an email, I think of an investigator or someone, where one could see that Anna Vartapetyan, now the prosecutor general, then still being assistant to Prime Minister, was receiving confidential information of one of the criminal cases. I'm speaking about the criminal case of related to the son of Ruben Hairenik. She was changing the documents, making amendments and sending back to the investigator, while investigation in Armenia, for example, contrary to US, is also in general independent of executive, so executive should not be and is not entitled to deal with all those documents. It was again confirmed that this is correct. However, what Anna said, she said that she has friends, sometimes she assist the friends with the texts. From time to time, when we have a court hearing, I have a eager to ask if they are friends with Anna, and she will be helping them to put a verdict together. So we have those two specific cases which were on record. It was confirmed to be correct, and nothing happened. While telling nothing happened, at that stage, Anna Vartapetyan was assistant to the Prime Minister. She was promoted to be general prosecutor. The third episode was connected to deputy head of National Security Service now, then judge, who claimed that at that stage the Supreme Judicial Council head, Ruben Vartazarian, has forced him to put some type of a decision or threatened him to put some type of a decision, which he didn't do. Afterwards, without any problem, he was a judge for 6 months. Then he quit being judge and was immediately appointed to Deputy Director of National Security Service. That's when he remembered that 6 months ago someone interfered there. So all those elements, and then afterwards he is kind of, according to the rumors, is playing the role of one who is dealing with all the judiciary. So all those elements show that at least after 1918 we had several proven instances of interference. If we add all those cases when judges were dismissed for, let's say, for unclear wrongdoings, and we have more than 10 cases in European Court related to the judges. The cases when a judge was being dismissed, then he applied, I'm speaking about David Harutyunyan's case, judge, he applied to Constitutional Court. Constitutional Court found it being anti-constitutional. He came back to the Supreme Judicial Council. Supreme Judicial Council decided they don't want to reopen the case. The judge had to go back to Constitutional Court. Constitutional Court again stated that that was a ground for reopening. So all these elements show that we have a big doubt in independence of judiciary. So every time, whenever
can we
judges...
assume that all the reforms, all the judicial reforms have been unsuccessful?
No, they were very successful. They were beaten afterward. All the reforms up to 2018, even 2019, even 2020, could be considered being successful. But afterwards, we see that all the results of those reforms were torn apart, and what's happening afterwards is what's diminishing the independence. So I'll just cite ex-chairman of Supreme Judicial Council, who said, we did vetting by 80%. And by vetting, they didn't mean vetting, because vetting is kind of studying the history, studying the people, studying their income, studying their material position, studying their cases. No, by vetting they understood changing the judge. And then the last development was that the person received an SMS from Prime Minister asking him to resign, and he resigned. So we could claim that all the reforms up to 2018 were very successful, in a sense that we were building judiciary which was becoming stronger and stronger, because when you start from Soviet-style judiciary, it's not overnight process when just in the morning you wake up and you have a excellent judiciary. You need to change the mindset, you need to change the knowledge, you need to change the approaches, you need to change the traditions, you need to change the people in some cases, but that takes time. You need to change the infrastructure because like in 90s, the courthouses were in police stations. So you just build courthouses, you bring new technology, you develop electronic justice system. But starting from 2020, especially from 2020, especially from the moment when at the Prime Minister's office there was a discussion with participation of Supreme Court or Court of Cassation judges, why do we don't have arrested people from the Ararat Mirzoyan incident or assassination attempt? So it's not speaking why we don't have people being under trial. It's not speaking about why the court cases are somehow developing strangely. We are speaking why we don't have people under arrest. And the prosecutor general is trying to excuse and giving some explanation. This is a sign when judiciary starts falling apart. So all these successful, not without clamor, successful reforms up to 2018 gives us still the possibility to have judiciary today. So we have still the court proceedings. But every year it's becoming more and more problematic because every time a judge decides to deliver a justice or at least to make an interim right court decision, which politically disturbs the political power holders, they are having an issue. If someone follows the development of what's happened to the judges who were studying the cases of Robert Kocharian, they will see. So the judges who illegally arrested him are getting promoted. By telling illegally, it's automatically one can see it. They didn't give for example, if we are speaking Armin Danilian, he didn't even allow the defense attorneys to speak. And then the judges who correctly brought up an issue, for example, David Grigoryan, the judge who went to the case, applied to constitutional court because he believed that the article of the law were anti-constitutional. He was prosecuted, dismissed, and then it took about 6 years before he got fully acquitted. And then, by the way, Constitutional Court said that the article was anti-constitutional. So we see this, the development that thanks to all the reforms up to 18, we still have judiciary and we still manage to work, but from year to year it's becoming more and more difficult to do it because, as I said, the so-called afterwards reforms, instead of strengthening the justice, it's making them weaker and weaker. So if we take the bishops, and I am a defense attorney or I'm in a defense team of Archbishop Bagarat in one of the cases, it's clearly politically motivated criminal case because if you look at the documents which were published or the discussions which were published by prosecution or by investigators, just in the first day when we were discussing the arrest of those people, and I'm not speaking about Archbishop, it's Archbishop and people who were working with him, starting from Kiran's movement and all other processes which were happening. They explicitly state that the change of government will happen through impeachment. That was in a recording explicitly one can hear. And then when we are asking, okay, you are telling that they were planning to kill people. That's terrible, but just show me an evidence. They said, oh, it's in the materials. I said, listen, you gave us like 2,000 pages. We managed to go through all of it. Three of us, we just divided and went through all of it. We didn't find. Just explain me which documents give you a hint that might be the case. They didn't find it. Then they went to TV. I'm speaking about head of in the investigative service. Went to TV and said, by the way, they were planning to do it on 24th of April. And that is something which today's government was doing in 18. And then we show the recording in the materials where they said, listen, we should not be doing on 24th of April. The reason why we want to change the government is we just don't want to be like them. It's not, we need to have red lines. We need to have places to stop. There are days we should not be doing anything else but remembering and honoring the victims. So it's clear showing that this is not the case, but they are just going to the public TV and stating it. By the way, it's not only him, it's also general prosecutor. Then they said he wrote down a terrorist attack plan. And then again, there was a procedure. Someone wrote a paper which has nothing to do with Baghdad Archbishop. I mean, anyone can write a paper, put in a document and say he wrote it.
So summing up, they are politically...
That's clear, they are political prisoners because they are being kept in custody just because what they think and what they do.
Mr. Orbelyan, regarding the trial of entrepreneur Samvel Karapetyan, would you assess it as legally justified or politically motivated again?
It's clearly politically motivated, but it's also completely illogical. I will explain you the reason. So all of us know that the reason for his arrest was his words, what he said. And what he said, we will do that in our way. From Armenian language and from pure logic, we will do it in our way. These words, I mean, wherever you want to put it, from which angle you want to look at it, in which intonation you speak it, it can never, in no circumstances, be understood as call for something. Because call for something, go do it. I ask you to go do it. I urge everyone to do something. I am going to do it in my way. I ask you to join me. But if you the wording was, we will do it in our way. We will do it in our way. Interpret in a whatever way you want those words. Is it legitimate way? Is it illegitimate way? Is it with violence? Is it without violence? Whichever way you want to put it, it in no way can be interpreted as call for action. I mean, call for action is a specific words which are aimed to urge people to do something. In his words, it was not the case. But he is being kept in custody for call for action. Technically call for violent change of government. Again, there is no call. And then I don't want to go and discuss everything else. If you couple this with what's happening with electric networks, it's clear that it's a politically motivated procedure. And then another element, how to understand if the procedure is politically motivated or not, just look into the publications, social media, parliament speeches of the government, members of parliament, members of cabinet, and you will see how many times they are coming back to this topic and discussing this topic all the way. This shows that it's again politically motivation is to just bring this issue, discuss this issue, and try to build their political agenda around this issue.
Mr. Orbelyan, and my final question, do the Armenian government's unlawful actions affect the country's international reputation?
I mean, the short answer is yes. The longer answer is the following. I mean, if you take the electric networks, the pure nationalization, illegal nationalization of electric networks, which is taking place, but it's not only electric network, the procedures which is happening around Amulsar, the procedures which is happening around Sanitec, and around a month, I think, or two, we are waiting for international arbitration decision. What's happening with Dangazur, molybdenum combined? What's happening around a couple of other assets which is happening? And the very strange circumstances when government receive a present from businesses, 15%, 20% of those shares has already negatively impacted the investment climate. I'm not even speaking about the bigger reputation or absence of reputation. I mean, that's a more vague concept. But as a law firm and as a managing partner of one of the largest law firms in Armenia, who, in addition to litigation, deals with quite many investment, M&A, consultancy processes, we already see the impact. That the people are already very cautious, that even the Armenian clients are already cautious, trying to understand how to additionally secure their property rights, because people start feeling threatened that one day government may decide that your property is their property. And that's a small part of it. If you are looking into so-called illegal asset forfeiture procedure, which has nothing to do with illegal asset forfeiture, it's just a procedure with that name under which they just start to calculating how much money you had in 89 and then in 91 and then in 92 and then in every time they want a transfer, they want a document to show your income in 92, in 93. We are explaining that this is not how the country was working, and we are not speaking about people, many of the of us would know, we are speaking about quite many, I mean, several hundred people from Armenia which are going through this procedure, and several hundred are in line to go through this procedure, if not thousands, then we are seeing that the security of property rights in Armenia is endangered in general, and political activism is being threatened. You can see many examples. I mean, if you take even the early years of Pashinyan, before they still had a coalition government with the Dashnakhtitsyun and I think Lusauri Erkir. So what's happened when Artvik Minasyan raised an issue at a cabinet meeting? He said, don't play opposition with me. What happened when Manet Andilyan was against of this pension reform? She quit because whole her political heritage was the fight against this reform. Then she resigned, then she was brought back, and then she was forced to bring this reform kind of to an end. When someone tries to, from opposition, from somewhere, tries not to agree with him, his actions, his reaction is very fierce. Just don't not to agree with me. He's trying to change the way people think. He's trying to change the way people want to live. And by telling this, I'm not speaking about a reform. He just wants to make people forget Ararat. He just, I will not. I mean, I will not be surprised if one day he will decide to make a big wall so people don't see Ararat. I'm not making the joke here. We are clearly in an authoritarian regime, which is moving to totalitarian regime. All the places when the ruling party lost the municipal elections, it is just arresting the people who won them. When people show that clearly their candidate breached the rules during the recent elections in Valar-Shapate-Shmiadzin, the criminal case was initiated, nothing happened. No one is arrested, no one is being investigated, no case is rushing to the court. And then if that would have been an opposition non-governmental candidate, the case would have been already to the court. And then we see that in Valar-Shapat, even they won the elections, they are rushing to everyone's houses to check. And I think, I haven't checked the very detailed, but I think like 10 people are being detained. We are under constant surveillance. A national security service, instead of supporting national security, they are just surveilling everyone. We are now developing the so-called anti-Russian agenda. I'm usually saying, okay, you think there are a lot of spies? I think there are a lot of spies of different countries. Let's adopt a legislation on foreign agents. Let's have something which Americans have, like other countries have, where we could see where people receive money from, etc. So in general, the reputation is being damaged, and we see the damage of a reputation already from international actors, because it's not easy and it's not positive when you just arrest people you don't like. You just try to take the property from people you like. And by doing it, you just brag and tell in the parliament that I did this, I will fire you, I will fire the people working in electric networks as the way I fired the people from ZCMC. And that's a person who should have nothing to do with private business, let's call it that way. All they said, Armenia is a marvelous country. I am not trying, we really need to work together with all Armenians just to bring... Yeah, that's, and I am completely sure. I am completely sure we all need to work together. We all need to develop the practices. We all need to fight the bad governance procedures which is happening. We all need to forget about this division which is doing old, new, old. I mean, there is no new or old. In Armenia, we have only 3 million people. We don't have 55 million people. Whenever I hear those argumentations, those are from old. Are you going to work with the old? Are you going to work with the new? My approach is we need to work with everyone. I mean, there is no so many people. We don't have the luxury of eliminating a part of a government, of a people from all the governance. So it means we really need to bring back the unity. And by bringing back the unity, I am sure we will develop the better government. We will come back to the development path which we had at least before 2020 or before 2018. I don't have the specific time, but we really need to bring the unity, and we really need to respect the constitution instead of trying to breach it every time because we just don't like it. I don't have the power, I need to breach the constitution. I want to send the message to the Supreme Judicial Council so they quit. Or the prosecutor general is not someone I like, so let's appoint someone who would be under my control, etc. So this is something we just need to bring back to Armenia, which was there, not in the best way, but it was at least there and it was developing. We just need to come back to the development path.
Mr. Orbelyan, thank you for sharing your insights with us today. And to our viewers, thank you for watching Hairenik Media.